If today's world and events sometimes leave you feeling sad, afraid, uncertain, or angry, then reach out for comfort.
We also can't try to take over and rebuild every country that falls into crisis, even if it's done with the best of intentions. That's not leadership. That's a recipe for quagmire, spilling American blood and treasure that ultimately will weaken us. It's the lesson of Vietnam. It's the lesson of Iraq, and we should have learned it by now. Fortunately, there is a smarter approach, a patient and disciplined strategy that uses every element of our national economy. It says America will always act, alone if necessary, to protect our people and our allies. But on issues of global concern, we will mobilize the world to work with us and make sure other countries pull their own weight.
America's the new designated driver that'll expend more efforts traveling its lane to keep peace treaties simple and more American troops sane. Like Vietnam and Iraq, wars weaken the warrior and hurts the one who must transition back into a societal situation that's filled with stressors that are cold and calculating like winters. America has long since adopted the principle of mutual consideration and mutual respect among allies and based upon threatening activities that we detect, indicating that we're always self-preserving with a glance towards the chance to join an international square dance. We understand that our national priorities and global concerns will often blend between borders because of a desire to protect our guts and glory story.
That's our approach to conflicts like Syria, where we're partnering with local forces and leading international efforts to help that broken society pursue a lasting peace. That's why we built a global coalition with sanctions and principled diplomacy to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran. And as we speak, Iran has rolled back its nuclear program, shipped out its uranium stockpile, and the world has avoided another war. That's how we stopped the spread of Ebola in West Africa. Our military, our doctors, our development workers, they were heroic. They set up the platform that then allowed other countries to join in behind us and stamp out that epidemic.
We understand that our approach to war must first be tempered by an act of peace, in case a second or third party has hostility that they want to release. We understand that diplomacy is good for our democracy and will determine our ability to always delegate certain authorities for assignments that we may have to designate. We understand that diplomacy has also helped our negotiations remain above par and to conquer those concerns centered around another world war. We understand how diplomacy had an effect that was more than covering a cough, via the unity within the community that sought to cure the Ebola epidemic and serve a suffering segment of humanity.
Hundreds of thousands, maybe a couple million lives were saved. That's how we forged a Trans-Pacific Partnership to open markets and protect workers and the environment and advance American leadership in Asia. It cuts 18,000 taxes on products made in America, which will then support more good jobs here in America. With TPP, China does not set the rules in that region, we do. You want to show our strength in this new century? Approve this agreement. Give us the tools to enforce it. It's the right thing to do. Let me give you another example. 50 years of isolating Cuba had failed to promote democracy. It set us back in Latin America. That's why we restored diplomatic relations, opened the door to travel and commerce, positioned ourselves to improve the lives of the Cuban people. So if you want to consolidate our leadership and credibility in the hemisphere, recognize that the Cold War is over. Lift the embargo.
America is blazing trails and advancing a trans-Pacific policy that'll include a special interest in the environment and economy, to charging the cost of a slight change before the price of gas has changed and caused the destitute to become deranged. We're trading the open market and evading threats like a potential target. And we're advising Asia from a position of leadership to enhance a proven partnership. Like this partnership, we have restored our America-Cuba relationship to attend to their needs from a strong position that warrants more of America and the world's attention. Like a restored relationship, we have sought to end any embargo that's 50 years outdated to allow prosperity to flow to the Latin America region unabated.
The point is, American leadership in the 21st century is not a choice between ignoring the rest of the world, except when we kill terrorists, or occupying and rebuilding whatever society is unraveling. Leadership means a wise application of military power and rallying the world behind causes that are right. It means seeing our foreign assistance as a part of our national security, not something separate, not charity. When we lead nearly 200 nations to the most ambitious agreement in history to fight climate change, yes, that helps vulnerable countries, but it also protects our kids. When we help Ukraine defend its democracy, or Colombia resolve a decades-long war, that strengthens the international order we depend on. When we help African countries feed their people and care for the sick, it's the right thing to do, and it prevents the next pandemic from reaching our shores. You know, right now we're on track to end the scourge of HIV/AIDS. That's within our grasp, and we have the chance to accomplish the same thing with malaria, something I'll be pushing this Congress to fund this year.
American developments and designs, which are benign, must remain in the vanguard, as our opportunities and initiatives expand for a citizenry that has our best regard. America's leadership must continue, of course, to cultivate the character of every choice, and wisely choose, for all Americans to win more than they lose. America's leadership must create and manage its own options regardless of any contradicting opinion that'll seek to diminish our existing dominion. America should be the watchtower that'll guide others towards an enlightened path that's filled with noble causes and not so much strife and wrath. America has heard what he said, she said, and they said because of some fact or fiction that someone has read. Let's set the record straight. Ukraine now has a democracy, and Colombia is in pursuit of a new destiny. Let's set the record straight. Africa acknowledges our assistance, as they have coached the hungry and sick towards a greater degree of independence. America is working hard to urge Congress's anticipation and participation to someday make a declaration that we've prepared an HIV/AIDS and malaria concoction for a quality of life celebration. Because the world has an appreciation for the poised who'll overcome the temptation To waver when a public persona should parallel a private personality to reveal the perfect presentation.
That's American strength. That's American leadership. And that kind of leadership depends on the power of our example. That's why I will keep working to shut down the prison at Guantanamo. It is expensive, it is unnecessary, and it only serves as a recruitment brochure for our enemies. There's a better way. And that's why we need to reject any politics that targets people because of race or religion. Let me just say this. This is not a matter of political correctness. This is a matter of understanding just what it is that makes us strong. The world respects us not just for our arsenal. It respects us for our diversity and our openness and the way we respect everything. His Holiness Pope Francis told this body from the very spot that I'm standing on tonight that to imitate the hatred and violence of tyrants and murderers is the best way to take their place. When politicians insult Muslims, whether abroad or our fellow citizens, when a mosque is vandalized, or a kid is called names, that doesn't make us safer. That's not telling it like it is. It's just wrong. It diminishes us in the eyes of the world. It makes it harder to achieve our goals. It betrays who we are as a country.
Hence the reason to shut down operations at Guantanamo Bay, because it's a bad influence and a bill that's not worth what America has left to pay. Hence the reason to request a self-censor and shut down political trash talk that halts America's unified walk. Hence the reason to respect our men of distinction within some communities where the motivated minority man is nearly approaching extinction. Hence the reason to respect women of destiny and what we appreciate the most about their diversity. We must remain loyal like the movie Good Men Who Are Few, to always profess who we are and what we do, as other ethnicities have allowed us to be. Pursuers of happiness and liberty, within this melting pot theory.
We the people. Our Constitution begins with those three simple words. Words we've come to recognize mean all the people, not just some. Words that insist we rise and fall together. And that's how we might perfect our union. And that brings me to the fourth and maybe most important thing that I want to say tonight. The future we want, all of us want. Opportunity and security for our families, a rising standard of living, a sustainable, peaceful planet for our kids. All that is within our reach. But it will only happen if we work together. It will only happen if we can have rational, constructive debates.
What would the world do without you? America's constitutional crew. There's no one that can do what you do when you never forget to just keep being you. We're all for one and one for all. That's all, and the family will rise or fail together in a fall. These slogans are symbolic of the significance of we the people, as stated in the beginning of the U.S. Constitution. A glance into the context and character of the meeting, the purpose and position of attendees, their objectives and unifying intention. Today, if we had a healthy debate that you could thumb up or down rate, then will you still want to set a trap for the American people with some political red tape bait? We the people want to know whether or not you're leaning left, leaning right, or standing in the center. Can Americans count on you to help them put clothes on their back during the winter? We the people want to know if a son or daughter wanted more out of their life or more than what was left under the Christmas tree. Should they still believe with their potential that they can be all that they want to be? We the people want to know when that mom and dad are laid off or let go and start a business on the go. Will America help them go to the bank instead of going for broke, or to go for a little more that they may want to grow a lot faster than slow? We the people want to know, is there a future for the American family that includes clean energy, clean air, and a clean ways and means that's fair? Or should they invest in a lifetime supply of cough drops for the carbon pollution that'll filter through lungs and infect the forest and crops? We the people want to know, after it's all said and done, and we deliberate to decide if America requires a strong Congress to guide. Can we come by our Rockaway of the World theme song as we stand by the American people and refuse to hide? Tell them, Joe, we the people need to know.
It will only happen if we fix our politics. A better politics doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. This is a big country. Different regions, different attitudes, different interests. That's one of our strengths too. Our founders distributed power between states and branches of government and expected us to argue, just as they did, fiercely, over the size and shape of government, over commerce and foreign relations, over the meaning of liberty and the imperatives of security. But democracy does require basic bonds of trust between its citizens. It doesn't work if we think the people who disagree with us are all motivated by malice. It doesn't work if we think that our political opponents are unpatriotic or trying to weaken America. Democracy grinds to a halt without a willingness to compromise, or when even basic facts are contested, or when we listen only to those who agree with us. Our public life withers when only the most extreme voices get all the attention. And most of all, democracy breaks down when the average person feels their voice doesn't matter, that the system is rigged in favor of the rich or the powerful or some special interest.
We've often heard if it isn't broke, then why fix it? But it's like the battle of Bull Run in here, with the bull-headed going back and forth while signing off on something that smells and sticks like it. If it isn't broke, then why fix it, is a common question when all is going well, but all isn't well in Washington, and we have deadlines and decisions that are pending. A potential problem if trust is something that we're not sharing, or the trustworthy is not who we're sending. Like Christianity's Messiah, we must flip the script and turn over a table. Stopping this pay-per-view politics and keeping it simple with some basic cable. Like our fellow Americans, we all have preferences, and that's fine. Some like supper, dinner, and others like to dine. However, the pressing issue remains to be what our founding fathers could forecast and see. A government that garners greatness for the public by delegating authority among branches and states, and having healthy debates about foreign and economic policy. The founding fathers built the belief that democracy should enhance, and not deny the American a fair chance, to disagree about the equitable balance of power that's standing in proxy for the constituent during their final hour. This democracy is the American lifeline that'll continue to tie our opinions together during good, bad, and ugly weather. When we the people are expected to be birds of feather, that'll flock together. How will a house divided against itself ever stand? Unless we respect the vote that remembers an echoing voice from an aching heart in search of a fresh start. Unless we respect the absent and average person's vote beyond election night, and until what matters most to them is amplified and made all right.
If today's world and events sometimes leave you feeling sad, afraid, uncertain, or angry, then reach out for comfort.